Hi everyone, my name is Ani, and I will be speaking about an article I found on Politico titled Biden Pledges Americans Won't Lose Health Coverage During Pandemic. So just to give you all a quick summary of the article, it speaks on Biden's election and his relationship with instilling universal healthcare coverage within America. So basically, the president-elect and his advisors are working hard to make contingencies so Americans will not have to worry about losing their healthcare coverage or protections for those with pre-existing conditions during the pandemic. However, it does not really specify what his administration would do if the Supreme Court was to strike down the ACA. Regardless, Biden and his administration are confident in working with Congress to dramatically ramp up healthcare protections and get Americans universal coverage. He also reiterated the importance of his campaign pledge to tackle prescription drug costs and expand coverage to the millions of uninsured Americans, which will be very difficult because the group has grown significantly during this pandemic due to the economic crash. A lot of Americans depended on employer-based healthcare coverage, and since they don't have work, they don't get their healthcare coverage. So it just creates a domino effect of problems. Although universal healthcare coverage is very important and it's something we should institute as a country for the betterment of our people and our society, it's going to be very difficult to do for two main reasons. The first one is we are very politically polarized. We learned in a class earlier that during the Obama administration and the passing of the ACA, there was a lot of difficulty and he had to give up a lot of aspects of the coverage just to get it passed by both parties and to get it approved. So we see how the rhetoric also changed universal healthcare coverage. You know, when the ACA was being passed, they called it Obamacare and a socialist program. However, that's what creates difficulty when it comes to passing these legislations because, you know, they're very politically polarized and there's a lot of state and federal bipartisanship as well. So it's going to be very difficult to institute change on that level. Even the article talks about the difficulty of doing so if the Supreme Court was to strike down the ACA, because it would make it 1,000 times more difficult to promote universal health care coverage. And the second point I want to focus on is the change in power dynamics. Businesses and insurance companies have huge influence over our policies, so it's going to be very difficult to take power away from them and focus it on the American population. I want to identify the main impacts of my statement by identifying the three main stakeholders. We see a clear interrelationship among stakeholders in the healthcare system and how complex it is. Two of the stakeholders, pharmaceutical firms and insurance companies, are publicly owned corporations listed on the stock exchange. So we see a very big influence and how much of an influence they have economic-wise. Their primary responsibility is to maximize their own stockholder wealth. So we see their main goal is to make money. However, their provision of health insurance for employees is a benefit and not a source of profit. And, you know, we learned about how during Reagan's administration, market capitalism kind of took over and health insurance companies began instituting a lot of barriers so they don't lose money by covering Americans, such as underwriting. The next big stakeholder I want to focus on are politicians. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, these big pharma firms and insurance companies are basically in cahoots with politicians. They are lobbyists. They fund politicians' campaigns in order to have influence over America. So although it is a really good idea to pass this type of legislation and make sure people are getting universal healthcare coverage, it's going to be very difficult changing the power dynamics of America's current system and their relationship with businesses, and just also instituting it during a time of such political polarity. But it will be very interesting to see, and I hope this does get instituted during this administration. Thank you.